Microphone check and screen share check, please. All right. Good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital Nightly Strategy Podcast for March 31st, 2022. So I'm in the annual conference for the Association for Business Simulation and Experiential Learning, where I am a fellow of the organization. And I'm trying to help them improve the collaboration of the network. And so I'm laid out for them the things that I'm ready to collaborate on with them and the new grad students and doctoral students that come to our program to learn how to do research and writing. And I was trying to describe to them our strategy for learning as a way to model that for young grad students so they could get on with it. And the acronym that came into my mind was the FAIL program. And there may be a better way to explain that acronym, but that's my working title right now. Fumble around, inevitably learn. And so in the FAIL program, what you want to do is fail intelligently, fail by design, fail early, fail often, fail forward, gain your balance, learn to walk, and now dance. I shared with them 3 projects of research interests that I'm working on in the world. A DARPA project to develop artificial intelligence assistance for field commanders so that they can improve their decision-making in real time. So I'm designing a war game for DARPA that they will use in a competition for AI solution providers. So there are going to be teams from around the world that are inventing AI that are going to compete in the war game that I designed for them. And then the winners of the war game, based on how we score them, are going to be competing for DARPA money to build out a larger program in a $150 million project in order to compete with the peer competitors. Let me say it that way. And this has broad implications for all of the professions that want to use artificial intelligence to improve decision-making. And there are many wide avenues for related research that's connected to that idea. So research and writing. So I'm interested in recruiting grad students and research scientists to work on that one. I'm also working with Angus Fletcher on measuring creativity improvements for Army officers through the use of his Fletcher treatment about literature. And we're doing a quantitative research project with 1,000 subjects in that. And the insights from that map to all the other professions as well. In any profession where more creativity is better in your profession, then there is a direct connection to what Fletcher's work does. And we're going to demonstrate that in an Army project. And then I'm working with the True Storytelling Institute on their program, along with Protreptic Coaching, under the supervision of my doctoral mentor, Dr. David Boji, who created the field of organizational storytelling 40 years ago and is still the most influential scholar in that area. In fact, it was interesting that I was the one that brought Fletcher and Boji together, these two giants in the area of narrative and storytelling, one coming from Western science and literature, Fletcher, and the other one coming from critical theory and like Heidegger and Sartre and Whitehead. And then finally, I'm working in general in various graduate school programs in line with the Carnegie Project on the doctorate, which is really about helping practitioner scholars with terminal degrees like me. And our job is to improve the world by the application of appropriate and specific practices of best knowledge. So applying theory properly in a local situation with people. the application of that knowledge, the generation of new knowledge through focused research, and then stewardship of the profession in the sense that we're trying to improve the body of knowledge, grow young scholars, implement research programs across the board. So all of those things, in my view, are connected to what we're doing in here. I just do that other stuff for fun, honestly. And so that's my program of action on the left-hand side. I'm going to start implementing a Monday night open office hours because I'm anticipating a lot more interest in my research now. And I'm going to start doing an office hours before the Monday night call for folks from around the world that are interested in collaborating on any of those other projects outside of trading. So it'll be a non-trading office hours. I'm interested in those areas. Those are the programs that I am an adjunct or advisory professor in for the Army, Department of Defense, St. Mary's, where I teach in their Ed D program. And then for Central Michigan University, where I teach in their Masters of Public Administration on strategy, leadership, ethics, and research methods. Those are the major universities that I'm collaborating with actively. Fletcher's at Ohio State. I'm working on some things with Purdue and Texas A&M, Chicago for entrepreneurship, Pittsburgh for case study research and ethics, and then Copenhagen Business School with my Danish Viking friend Jens Larsen on protreptic coaching. I can't talk about Purdue and Texas A&M. So that's just, I'm trying to drag that organization ABSEL into the future by having them standardize what it is that we're working on so we can outreach better. Turns out to be a very interesting collaborative environment for people that are trying to do good in the world. So I just thought I'd share that. But what I really liked today was I was thinking of you guys when I was telling them about the FAIL program, fumble around, inevitably learn. So if you can come up with a better explanation of that acronym, as long as it includes FAIL and learning at the other end, maybe it's fail with artificial intelligence in order to learn, or find artificial intelligence to learn. You can see where that's going to head. It's got to just use the word fail. The acronym game. So one of the things that I was briefing him on that this war game has to encompass with artificial intelligence, you just might enjoy this, is that when we're developing executives for decision making, we are training senior leaders in the government in all 4 areas of national power: diplomacy, information, military, and economic, the DIME model. And then we need executive leaders, decision makers that can integrate insights from all 4 of those in order to be fully integrated and synchronized. Each of those black boxes represents something like local domain knowledge, where if you were an expert in diplomacy, or if you could create an artificial intelligence robot that could master the art and science of diplomacy and put them in that box, well, then you'd have an AI assistant that could help you make better diplomatic decisions. And the same thing with information, military, and economic. Each one of those domains really operates under a different set of constraints and dynamics. Like the mathematical orientation of economics is different than the algorithms that we might use for the art and science of military work, where rules of attrition and production and warfare and all that stuff. In the information area, this might be about the detection, acquisition, processing, interpretation, masking, spoofing of competitive information gathering and application with analysis. Diplomacy might really be the science and art of persuasion and alliances and backstabbing and, whatever. So if you had an AI system in each one of those areas, it probably is using a different kind of a model. and it might optimize what you're doing in each of those areas. But then what I'm trying to do in that green box is support the decision making of a top level executive who has to take those things into account. And the AI that it might use to blend the inputs from the other 4 technical AIs is going to be an interesting reward to risk, insurance, actuarial, executive AI. And then if I'm an executive, if I, in each one of those areas, or the blended executive, I've got to describe what kind of artificial intelligence I would be willing to trust with matters of national interest. So the AI project that we're working on is encompassing how to develop AI in each of those areas, and then how to mix those into an effective decision-making model. And then I'm designing a war game that will allow us to evaluate competition in each of the domains, plus the integration in a way that will influence national security. So I've got an interesting problem to contend with. So that's what I'm doing when I'm not in here. And that's what I briefed ABSEL on, because I'm trying to recruit from them a multi-domain research scientists and lab assistants that might have competencies in each of those areas, and then figure out some way to blend those in a way that is persuasive to senior leaders. So when I'm collaborating across DoD and the whole of government, that's what I'm doing. Thought you might just get a kick out of that.